exporting this to the cloud. And I want to kick this off. My name is Alexander McCobin. I'm the CEO of Leap, and really excited for us to be able to host this webinar on artificial intelligence and HubSpot with some incredible speakers who are experts in the field, ready to share their insights to go beyond the superficial about what artificial intelligence is. Everyone knows ChatGPT is changing the game in business and that AI is the next revolution happening right now. But how does this apply to your inbound marketing, to your CRM, and just how you're actually able to drive more clients and revenue to what you're doing? And of course, the lead for today's call is Silva-Ball, the CEO of Digifianz, a Diamond HubSpot partner. But he's joined today with two other great leaders in the HubSpot space. Clwyd Probert, who's the founder of Whitehat Inbound, and Andrew McCobin, who is the head of driving digital transformation at Mount Arbor. And gentlemen, I'm going to turn it on over to you to start with the conversation and invite everyone who's joining us that has questions to type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many of them as possible throughout this webinar. And then, of course, share the recording with you afterwards so that you're able to continue learning after we're done with this event. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Excellent. Thank
you. All right. Thanks, Alex.
Go for it, Lewis.
All right. So, So basically, to get this started, well, as Alexander was saying, we have Clwyd and Andrew here with us, and we're going to be talking about AI and different aspects of how we can interact with AI. So Clwyd is going to be talking about marketing in AI in more general terms. Then Andrew's going to be talking about AI and business. And then I'm going to be going over what you can do with AI and HubSpot specifically. And then we can have a bit of a Q&A, do more of a deep dive into questions you might have. And yeah, hopefully we can come up with something very interesting from that conversation.
Excellent.
I know all three of us are super about everything that we can do with AI. We're playing around with it all day. So yeah, super excited about this. All right. So Clwyd, if you want to take it away and go ahead and get started with
absolutely.
marketing and AI. All right.
It's a rabbit hole that I think all of us are going deep down at the moment. Let me share my screen because what I'm going to do, let me just see which one I'm actually sharing. Now, can you see my slide deck there? Does that make sense to everybody? Can I get a confirmation?
We can see it.
Fantastic. So I've got a fair number of slides here, so I'm not going to go through them in detail. They're more talking points for us to chat. But I wanted to give everybody an overview of the status of AI, where we are in the world, and where I think we're heading. And then we can talk openly about HubSpot and marketing and everything else. But a lot of people I've spoken to don't really understand even the different elements of AI and the different complexities of it. Just to give a little bit of positioning for myself, this is my life history, obviously drawn in AI generated cartoons. I started life in the science world, moved on to computer programming. Became a marketer, worked out of New York for several years in finance, and my current incarnation as a business owner of an agency, which is where I am now. You can see my hairstyle has changed over the years, but that's nothing to do with anything else. There's a lot going on. And if you pick up the news, if you follow the news, if you do doom scrolling on Reddit or anything else, you might be under the impression that the world is about to end. It might very well be about to end, but I think we're going to have some fun along the way, and that's kind of what we're doing today. Couple of quotes just to throw something at you. AI will be either the best or the worst thing that's ever happened. Stephen Hawking, we know who he is. Interesting second quote: every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can be, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine can be made to simulate it. Now think through that. That's a very profound and controversial claim. And a lot of people I know on the webinar would disagree with that you can't simulate human thought and you can't do this level of intelligence, but that was Alan Turing. So if you want to start arguing with Alan Turing, then please go ahead, but I'm going to take that as read and I'm going to move on. Now, here's my first take, right? Something to be aware of. When people talk about AI, they tend to automatically go off on a rant about robots. And it's really important, and normally they have red eyes and carrying a machine gun. It's really important not to get distracted by the news, because there is so much clickbait and journalism and bad news and uninformed news that you sometimes miss the actual real news. So my takeaway here is, don't think about robots, don't think about physical AI, because that is really hard and has been for years. Think about this concept of a co-pilot who sits with you, helps with you, is an expert who knows your business, knows the industry, and can assist. That's where we're going to be for the next few years. So don't get distracted by sci-fi. And remember, stop, breathe, think. Just take a breath, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. And this is kind of where we need to be. Quick overview of the history of AI, in case anybody thinks it's something that's just happened over the last 12 months. Turing himself, I mentioned before, was around in the 50s and the 40s and came up with the famous Turing test. We've had a lot of early successes, things like chess computers, Go, IBM's Deep Blue. We've had quite a lot of failures. And this is sort of represented by this graph, where we look at the birth of AI and also the dips, which are known as AI winters, where a lot of hope was generated, but nothing actually came through, and people's expectations were not met. What I'm conscious of at the moment is that a lot of people are talking about this as a hype cycle, as though it's going to go away. It's not going away. It's bigger than anything that's happened before, and it's going to grow exponentially. So don't think about this as a bubble. Don't think about this in terms of Bitcoin or any of those spurious things that have been flying around. This is a fundamental change in technology and potentially in society. The other thing about AI to understand is that there's more than one type. So what I mean by that is there's artificial narrow intelligence and artificial general intelligence. And narrow intelligence is what we've been used to for many years. It's the thing that, you know, works your GPS. It's the scanner that can look at a medical report and give you some feedback. The idea of a general intelligence is that it has no particular skill, but can do everything reasonably well and sometimes very well using general human level intelligence. So for example, it might well be able to look at a medical scan, but it could also write an email to the patient asking them to come in for an appointment, and write a follow-up email to a loved one explaining the situation. And it can be the same AI doing both things. This is where it becomes really powerful. I'd love to talk about some very specifics, and I don't really want to go into the technology of this, but I do want to talk about cats and unicorns, because I think that's really, really important. The internet is full of cats, but specifically I want to talk about unicorns. And the reason I want to talk about unicorns is it's a way to measure the intelligence of a system, or in fact, it's one way that Microsoft came up with when they were first shown ChatGPT 4 by OpenAI in August of last year, before it was released to the public. And one of their researchers had this cool idea of asking ChatGPT to draw a unicorn using a text-based system called Tech, and to see if it could actually draw a unicorn, because there was no internet pre-built template for this. So it had to understand the concept of a unicorn, the horn, the legs, the body, all of these things. And this is kind of what it came up with, which is, you know, not bad. And, you know, it's like a child's sketch of a unicorn. If you can imagine somebody given a crayon and just do a unicorn. The thing was that as this system was trained and improved, the same system, GPT-4, over several months, the system got better. And just before it was released, about Christmas of last year, we see the unicorn on the right. And this was the level of GPT-4, which was fundamentally improved and enhanced, and quite a sophisticated unicorn, right? Now, the problem was that Microsoft then had to release it to the general public, which mean that they had to put a lot of guardrails and tests and barriers around it, so it didn't go completely off the rails and do the bad things that it potentially could. So they started restricting the capabilities of the system, not deliberately to reduce its intelligence, but to prevent it doing certain things. And by the time they actually released it, this is what the unicorn looked like, right? The one on the left is ChatGPT-3, and the one on the right is ChatGPT-4. Now, I'm not saying to draw any massive conclusions to this, apart from the fact that the intelligence underlying these systems is a lot more powerful than we have access to at the moment. So be prepared for new interesting things coming in the future. The other thing that you should be also aware of is that the guys who built these systems don't know how they work. And they fundamentally do not understand the concepts of a billion parameter model. It's like a brain in a box, and the capabilities of it only actually come out at the end of the training process. And this is a thing called emergence. That leads to an alignment problem. Alignment means, how do you actually get the thing to do what you want and not destroy the world? And there's a whole industry and scientific research around all of that. What about Google? They've been very slow to the market, but they last month they released a whole load of Palm models, which are really quite interesting. They're still not up to the ChatGPT-4 level, but the interesting ones I think on this slide are the Gecko models, which are really small and portable, so they'll be independent of the internet. They'll be able to run on devices like phones. And the other thing I want to skip over the technical stuff and move on to a sort of an overview of what's out there. And this comes back to HubSpot and all the other players that are using AI. You'll see chatbots all over the place. There are multiple chatbots. It's not just ChatGPT. There's also ChatSpot, obviously from HubSpot. But most of the work that's happening at the moment, or that will be more interesting, is on the API side. So people building AI into their systems using the AI as a back end. There is also the App Store, where you can have apps integrated, but I think that's going to be a small play in terms of the bigger picture. Agents are a thing, or they will be. The idea that you'll have multiple agents going out and be able to do things for you, and I think HubSpot's going to be playing in this space. These are some of the names, including ChatSpot in the top right. Welcome to Dharmesh. 11 Labs, fantastic for voice. Stable Diffusion on the video side, and Microsoft obviously with their co-pilots. One quick tip: if you're using the system prompts, I'll give you one particular takeaway. Be nice to your AI. Be polite, say please, say thank you. There is literally research shows that you get better answers out if you do that. And if you don't, it starts becoming all Donald Trump and goes a bit crazy. So that's my one piece of advice. There's some more in there. In terms of marketing, we've been looking at this because obviously a lot of clients are looking at AI, for example, for content generation. At the moment, it's not something we recommend. We can discuss this with the panel, but for example, this you probably can't see the details of this slide, but this is 5 pages of text. Now, this isn't a blog post that Whitehat have produced. This is a briefing guide that we give to one of our writers before they start writing. So there's a massive amount of research and prep work and buyer's persona analysis, buyer's journey analysis that goes into the creation of a piece of content that we create for our clients. And I know that Andrew and Lewis would agree with this. You then give it to a writer who fleshes this out and turns it into a full-on piece of content. And this is really important. the AI systems at the moment are generating mediocre content at scale. And you're going to get a flood of information, a flood of content out on the internet, and it's going to be poor quality. And the only way to outrank that is to go for higher quality, go up. You're seeing a drop off in funding from Series C. So there's all this money that was actually going to be spent on taking companies public is now being thrown at AI startups. So you're going to see this can be an explosion of functionality of apps, of systems that are going to come through. And that's going to go through weed outs where small startups are going to be taking over from some of the big incumbents. Google, 135,000 employees. Midjourney is one of the leaders in the AI picture category, has only got 12 employees. Just an example of how far we've come over recent years. This is image creation using a simple prompt about kittens, and you can see that how fast the quality has actually improved. Terminology has now changed. What used to be 5 years, 10 years, 50 years in the future, nobody's looking really beyond the next 5, and 10 years is so far out. So the whole way of talking about this has changed. Oh, and by the way, back at this image, I shouldn't have said this is over several years. This is over several months. So this is March 2022 when that first crazy cat was produced, and this is what we're now getting out of Midjourney. The quality here is stunning. And if you think it's just cats, then you're wrong. It's fashion, it's products. Industry, cross-industry, it's not just marketing, it's going to be education, it's going to be finance, it's going to be law. There's going to be long-term, medium-term impacts in business and society. And there's a couple of resources that I've actually kicked in here for everybody to take a look at. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. HubSpot themselves have invested, and just to shout out into the top right corner there, Marketing Against the Grain. This is a podcast and a YouTube channel by the CMO of HubSpot and the CMO of Zapier. And they have some really interesting one-to-one talks, and I would recommend everybody to dial into that. That's kind of what my overview of the world of AI. And remember, stop, breathe, and think. Thank you. Now let me stop sharing my screen, and I'll go back to, it looks like, Andrew, it's you and I. We seem to have lost Lewis.
That's okay. I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
And
I think I got disconnected for a bit there.
No
yeah,
problem.
I'm running into some issues. I'm getting a cable brought to me. But yeah, so if you want to go ahead, Andrew, and well, so first of all, Clwyd, that was amazing. I love that. That was super interesting. And yeah, if you want to go ahead, Andrew, and talk about AI in business, I'm super excited about what we're going to see.
Great, thanks very much. Just 1 second, I'm just going to make sure that I can see everything, and then I will be able to start. So thanks, Clwyd. I'm going to stop, breathe, and think for a second. I like Clwyd, I began my life trying to contextualize a lot of technology for myself in different incarnations in working in technology, marketing, and sales. 6 years ago, I started Mount Arbor, and what we do is work with clients, particularly SMBs, around what HubSpot concerns itself with, which is customer acquisition, lead generation, long-term customer relationships. Myself, for 20 years, I've led projects for companies like Google and Salesforce, and others. I've also worked with a lot of startups that were recently acquired for multi-millions over the last couple of years. And what I've been doing lately is trying to apply the same principles that big tech uses to help SMBs use technology, which is why this AI thing is really exciting for me. And I thought what I would do today is help you to kind of contextualize all of this to help you approach AI from a business perspective. So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about is why why now? Why would you look at AI in your business and in using AI in any way to run your business? The first thing to point out is that there's no point in proceeding at all with technology of any kind until you really understand the struggle that you're trying to fix. And oftentimes when we're looking at improvement processes, we're looking at lean and agile processes to just improve what's already there. With AI, we really want to be looking at fundamental transformation because it really changes a lot of what we're doing already. We don't want to automate inefficient processes because ultimately when we go through these improvement cycles, we get a dip in performance. And then once we maybe introduce the technology through our digital transformation project, we get back to where we were before in terms of performance with a few efficiencies on the side that have contributed to our progress. But what we really want to do is get ahead of the game and look at where we can transform around struggles that we might not even think we can solve today. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Now, generally speaking, we've broken this down at Mount Arbor with our clients into 3 different layers or different paths that you can take in order to approach this step by step. This is to do with the foundations that you need to put in place first, and that would always start with a diagnostic. So I would recommend anybody looking at this to really figure out where you're at today first before moving forward. And although it may seem obvious, to figure out what the goals and outcomes are for any adoption of AI, particularly when it comes to HubSpot and where you want to move in terms of what you're trying to do with the overall system you've built. And then to move into the other things to do with your people and your systems that you're building for those people before getting into kind of optimizing that performance. And that's a whole thing I don't want to get into in detail, but just to kind of give you an overview of a map view that I tend to take with our clients. Now, generally speaking, with AI, I wanted to kind of talk about some of the aspects of what Clwyd has covered already. And I've had a lot of fun putting together a few Avenger characters that you can maybe take away and think of as you're approaching AI and using it. So the first guy I want to talk to you about is Automated Assistant. This is a Marvel character that we've created. And his basic function is to stand by you and to improve your processes, to improve the things you're already doing, to take away those menial tasks and those repetitive tasks that you're doing. Now, you might ask, like, where does this come into the HubSpot ecosystem or into ChatGPT or anything else? Generally speaking, where you get your AI done is not as relevant as what you're going to do with it. So the first guy you want to think about is your AI assistant. This is the person I turn to an awful lot. He's great for my executive function. He's able to project plan. He's able to task prioritize and so on. And then he's actually able to execute some of the tasks that I want him to execute. And on a more advanced level, robotic process automation is something you'll hear a lot about in the business context, where AI is starting to be used to improve processes at an industrial scale in enterprise level engagements with technology. The second guy I want to talk to you about is the innovation engine. This guy's just full of ideas. And in the realm of creativity, this guy takes giant strides. He's able to generate ideas around some of the core concepts you have. I'll often take a bunch of brainstorming ideas, put them all down in ChatGPT and just say, give me some ideas and put them in priorities and make a project plan out of them. So this guy's just really good at taking the kind of ideas that you might have or the ideas you mightn't have thought of and give you a multitude of options for innovation and accelerating your time to market. The next person is a really kind of empathetic character. This person is the communication synthesizer. This is someone who can help communicate and simplify things with clarity and efficiency across your business. And if you think about how this might apply in HubSpot, for example, the communication synthesizer is someone who's going to help you to create communications with your customers, but also internally with your team. So just think about all the times that you've struggled to get a point across, struggled to get your message across, struggled to incentivize or motivate your team, or even just to explain technology to non-techies in your team or vice versa when you're trying to explain marketing to your tech team. The communication synthesizer is just going to take away all of that friction. And this is where you turn when you want to communicate. The next character we have is the fabulous knowledge facilitator. This is the person who holds the keys to knowledge and wisdom coming from a huge history of knowledge and wisdom that the human race has gathered digitally. And Google's mission originally was to digitize all data, and they've done a great job of that. And now AI has just hoovered all that up into their all-seeing, all-knowing knowledge facilitator. So think of this guy when you're thinking about trying to find patterns in learning that has gone before. Think about this person when you're trying to put together courses or learning programs for your teams, for onboarding, for example, and fostering a workforce that evolves with market demands. This guy's really good from the point of view of knowledge that has already gone before. And it's important to remember that AI, and this is a controversial opinion that we can talk about later, AI is generally just able to look backwards, and it's up to us to be the creative force looking forwards. Keep that in mind when you feel a little overwhelmed by the power of AI. And then finally, the person I wanted to talk about is the intelligent analyst. And this guy kind of speaks for himself. He's someone who's able to just streamline complex business processes. He contributes to that robotic process automation I talked about earlier. But even just in terms of getting all the data in place and figuring out where you can improve and optimize and perform better, this guy can be really, really useful. And then finally, just think of your overall AI as the conductor. So wherever you're getting your AI done, and oftentimes I'll walk down the street with my wife who has beautiful hairdo, and people ask, where did you get your hair done? And really, it's just up to you where you get your AI done. So think about AI as the conductor. Where you put your AI together is really unique to yourself, and the way you do this is based on the fact that you're the composer. AI can only look back, and you can look forward and create, synthesize, and progress. And again, just to kind of put all this in context, try to frame this in terms of the foundation you build. Make sure that you do a diagnostic first in order to put yourself in the context of where you're at today and where you want to get to and how to get there. See yourself, the business owner or the person running the tech, as the composer of the symphony. You're setting the parts, you're setting the vision, and you're defining the overall direction. And then just lay out what's important for you and your company, because remember that digital is really just at the intersection of people and systems. We all do things our own way. We want to keep the human element in all of this. And so AI is going to contribute to that, particularly when we can master the parts of AI that are most relevant to ourselves. This way we don't have to stay ahead of everything, as long as we kind of focus on this intersection and don't go over balanced on the system side or the people side. We can really make digital and AI work for us. So I ran through that very quickly, but I'm looking forward to the discussion afterwards, and thanks for your attention.
All right, that's really great. Thanks, Andrew. And I love those characters. Like I can really relate to that, and well, that really sets me up for what I'm going to talk about, because we're going to see how some of those characters actually come into play. I mean, this is really cool because like we're seeing, well, first with Clwyd, we get like a little bit of the context and background of, well, I mean, how AI has evolved and where we're at right now. And Andrew, you showed us like how each functionality, like how you can kind of like put a character to each functionality, and that's super cool. And now we're gonna see like what it is that this actually means for HubSpot. Like how can you actually implement this on HubSpot in your day-to-day? So you're using HubSpot. And, so let me go ahead and share my screen just a second. Okay. So to begin with, I'm just going to talk about well, so HubSpot has I mean, there's a whole bunch of AI tools, right? And right now, pretty much GPT is king. And so HubSpot is building a tool or a set of tools integrated into its platform that are based on GPT. So it's kind of a way in which we can bring GPT to your workplace, to your HubSpot, so you don't have to go out to GPT and to use it. You can actually tap into deeper functionalities than you can actually tap into directly in GPT, because some of those restrictions that Clwyd mentioned that GPT has, there's some barriers that are lifted with the integrations. So specifically with HubSpot's integrations, you can do a bit more than you can actually do within GPT itself. Are you guys seeing my screen, by the way? Super. Okay. So with that in mind, now, so Clwyd was just telling us about like the innovation engine, right? Clwyd, Andrew was just telling us about the innovation engine. That was one of your characters, right, Andrew? So now if we go here in my screen, I'm sharing, so this is a blog post creation. So like if you're gonna create a blog post within HubSpot, this is basically our template at Digifianz. When we're creating a blog post, we just go in here and you can start writing your blog post, right? So I mean, I'm sure you're all familiar with HubSpot and you know it's super easy to use. You can just start writing some text here, and awesome. So if you want to use one of HubSpot's AI tools, which is the content assistant, you just start out with a splash, and that's gonna give you some ideas on what you can do, right? So so to go off of Andrew's characters, we have the innovation engine, so we can start generating ideas. So let's say I wanna get an idea. Let's see, give me a blog post idea for AI and HubSpot, and then I click on generate. And now it gives me a set of ideas, right? And now always you wanna go through the ideas. You wanna go through anything that AI gives you. I mean, chatbot is known to lie quite a bit, and ChatGPT is known to lie and to come up with things that you need to double check. So you always want to double check this. Keep in mind this functionality within HubSpot is still in beta mode. So you always want to keep an eye out and make sure that whatever you're putting out is going through a human filter. As Clwyd said before, what we're going to be seeing with AI is a lot of mediocre content being created. So in order to make sure that that doesn't happen, you want to make sure that you filter what you're seeing, what the results are. And you want to be very critical when you're selecting. I'm not going to be as critical right now because I want to speed this up and not spend a lot of time just thinking about everything. So let's just assume that all of these are great ideas, and I'm going to go ahead and insert them. So now I can select one of these. Let's say I'm going to select the first one, right? How AI is revolutionizing HubSpot, unveiling the future of marketing automation. So I'm going to use that as my blog post title. And then I'm going to put that here in my title. Let's eliminate the other ones. And now what we're going to do is here, actually, let's copy this. And let's get a blog post outline for this. So now here we have an example prompt. Let's just go ahead with that one. So write an SEO friendly outline. An SEO friendly outline for a blog post on. Well, I believe I did not copy that properly. My bad. There it goes. Let's do that again. Right, an SEO friendly outline for a blog post on how AI is revolutionizing HubSpot. Let's see. Now this is really cool because I mean you can do this with ChatGPT and it's gonna come out with a lot of great stuff. You can just do this directly within HubSpot, and so you get this really cool outline, and you can just insert it here. Now we can also refresh the ideas. I don't know if you noticed that there was like a little generate thing there. So we can, like, if we didn't like the idea that I came out with, we can say, you know what, let's try again. But you always, as I mentioned before, you always want to double check, go through what it came up with, and make sure that this actually makes sense. Now we're not gonna go super in depth on that right now, but I just want to show you the functionalities. Now let's say this is all super great. So the rise of AI in HubSpot, that's how we're going to start. And we have this paragraph here. AI is transforming the way marketing automation works. HubSpot bringing unprecedented efficiency and accuracy to the process. Awesome, love that. Now, we see this little dot here popped up, the little, what's it called? A thunder, the little power thunder there. So let's click on that thunder, and that's going to give us some more options on what we can do with content assistance. So let's see, we can change the tone, we can make it friendlier, more professional, witty. We can summarize, expand, or rewrite it. Now, right now we're obviously not going to summarize it; it's pretty short. But let's try expanding it. Let's say, yeah, let's write a paragraph on this. Now, it's thinking. So this is based on GPT-4, which I'm sure you all know is a bit slower than 3.5, but it's smarter as well. So which is really cool. And then we can see what it came up with. Go through that. And here's a little button I was saying before, the regenerate. So let's say we went through this and you know, I'm not so happy with what this says. Okay, let's generate it again. Let's see what it comes up with now. Now, yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time to think. Now, it's important to always keep in mind that you really, I mean, I've mentioned this before, but I really want to emphasize the fact that you don't just want to like do what I'm doing right now and just insert random stuff and go for it. You do want to make sure that whatever's in here actually makes sense. And now you can see this, what it came up with is actually super long. So let's make that shorter, because I mean, I just wanted like a paragraph, right? So let's make it shorter. Let's summarize this. Now it's gonna be thinking about that, and then okay, so we go through this. Yeah, this is much better. I like what it says, and I'm just gonna insert it there. Okay, so now we have this, and we can go through that, edit it right there, make any changes that we want to make. We can again use content assistance, for instance, to change the tone, and we can make it witty, stuff like that. So this is really helpful. I mean, the idea here is it's not going to replace what you would be doing as a human being, but it can really lend a hand. It can make it so like it's basically, I mean, it's an assistant. It's something that is going to optimize your time. It's going to make sure that whatever was taking you 5 hours before might take you 3 hours now, because you don't have to spend so much time thinking. So you can do the QA, you can optimize what's been created. So this is super cool. Now, so content assistance is one of those ways in which HubSpot is incorporating AI into all of its products. Now, another way is ChatSpot. So ChatSpot is this tool that I'm really excited about. It's like ChatSpot's, it's like HubSpot's own ChatGPT, and you integrate it with your own HubSpot account. So like when you come here, you select which account you want to use it with. And now this tool is actually in alpha, which is before beta. So there's still some glitchiness, you know, there's some stuff that you might give it some commands and it's not gonna fully work. That's something to keep in mind. Like, don't get frustrated. A big thing to keep in mind with all of what's going on with HubSpot and AI is that it's not perfect yet. We're basically future-proofing. So HubSpot is investing a lot into AI so that when we can really tap into its full potential, we're ready. And it's fully integrated. But that doesn't mean that we can't start using it. So right now we can use it and we can actually do a lot of stuff with it, which is super awesome. For instance, let's see, we have these suggestions, which is super helpful, right? So over here on the left side, we see some prompts that HubSpot has actually provided for us, so we can test what we can do here. So let's see, like we can add a contact. So let's try adding a contact now. Okay, let's say we can add an email. I'm just gonna add myself. Say I commit myself to that. With fake. And I'm going to add that there. All right. Now, and you can see that it's added my contacts into the CRM. But now this is all super cool, but what if I want to add a contact in a more, casual way? Like I came to ChatSpot and I don't want to go through all this process. I just want to get this over with quickly. So let's say I'm just going to chat here and I'm going to say, add contact, Paul McCartney, from Beatles, let's say co. Position, bass player extraordinaire. And industry, let's add industry, music, something like that, right? So let's do that. Oh man, okay, I forgot the email. Let's do that again, my bad. Let's try that with email, paul@beatles.com. All right. And there we go. So we added Paul into our CRM. Obviously, this is not real Paul. I'm not friends with him yet. Hopefully, I will be one day. But yeah, so that's super cool, right? We added Paul into our CRM, and now if we actually go into the CRM, let me refresh this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if I go here and I look for, oh, it's refreshing. Give me just a second. So I just want to show you like what this actually does in the background. I mean, that's cool. We're seeing it in ChatSpot, but we want to see like how this is going to get reflected in the CRM, so we can actually tap into that later. So, all right. So this is loading. I am having some internet issues. Let's see, just a bit. I don't know what's going on with the internet. It was working amazing just a couple minutes ago. Well, not a couple minutes, a couple hours. Let's see, there we go. So we have Paul McCartney here. I mean, and it's right there because I just added it, but let's try searching for McCartney and see what pops up. There you go. So we have McCartney here, Paul McCartney. We can open that contact. By the way, does anybody have any questions on all of this? If you have, just go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay, so my internet is not really collaborating with me, but yeah, here we go. So this is Paul's contact card within HubSpot. You can see like, well, his details are popping up, but it's been added into our CRM. Now we can go in and add any further info that we want to add, or we can start tracking any email exchanges that we have, calls and all that. They're going to start tracking here. And we just added it super quickly, just typing a prompt, a very conversational prompt. Like we didn't have to go into the system and register everything. It was all super casual. And I think that's just super cool. Now there's other stuff that you can do here, for instance, in a conversational way. You can do a knowledge base search. So the knowledge base is basically where HubSpot has all the information on like what you can do with HubSpot. So let's say I don't know, I'm just looking into HubSpot and I'm seeing they have this really cool tool about marketing automation called workflows. So let's say, ask knowledge base, how do I create a workflow? Let's see. Now I'm asking that question, and then see, it's super cool. It pulls up the knowledge base article where I can see how to create a workflow. Super easy. It's super fast, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it's super cool. It saves a lot of time when you want to know something that you can do in HubSpot. You can just research it here, and then you have all these other prompts that are already tested. That all of these work. if you try typing a message and just coming up with something and seeing if it works, it might work, it might not, because as this is still an alpha, sometimes it's not perfect. But let's try something like competitor research for, I don't know, let's do HubSpot.com. And now we have, so these are HubSpot competitors, and it's gonna give us all this information, add them to HubSpot, we can add them to our CRM, or we can do further research here and click there and see what it comes up with. So let's say we want to look into Zendesk. Okay, so here's some more information on Zendesk. We can add it to HubSpot, or we can get like an SEM summary, like what are they doing in terms of paid ads. So you want to research some of your competitors and see what they're doing. So you can just do that, and I think that's cool. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do this. I don't want to take up all the time. I do want to leave some time for the Q&A, but yeah, that's a quick overview on what we can do with AI and HubSpot. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and we can open it up for any questions.
Hey, Lewis, I think you need to enable our video again.
Oh, okay. Is that me? Hang on.
I think you're the host.
I'm the host. Okay, hang on. Let's see.
And while you're doing that, Luis, we do have some questions, and I want to start with one that seems like a pretty basic but important one, which is there's so much to understand about AI now, and it looks like HubSpot is integrating AI into the platform already. So how much does everyone need to learn about AI themselves, or how much can they just utilize what HubSpot is developing and just go from there?
That is an awesome question. Okay. And so, Andrew, I think you're the host now, and you can enable your video as well. And then to answer your question, Alexander, well, I don't know if one of you guys want to go, or if I should go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay, super. So my recommendation would be just start fooling around with it. Like, honestly, like there's so much that you can look into. Don't overanalyze. Like, don't get stuck in just being overwhelmed with, oh my God, there are so many tools. You know, just start using whatever is available to you. Like, if you have a HubSpot account, go create your chatbot and your content assistant, because you have to enable those. You have to ask to get into the betas and alphas, and I mean, you should be allowed in pretty quickly. And then you can just start using it and test it out, see what works, see what doesn't. Odds are a lot of people in the HubSpot team are testing it out, and whatever doesn't work right now is going to be working in a couple of months, if not weeks. So, I mean, I'm already super excited about what we can do right now, and even more excited about what we're going to be able to do in the future. But yeah, just test it out. And ChatGPT is the king right now. Maybe not for long. I mean, Bard is coming up very powerfully, apparently. Who knows? But yeah, you can also test ChatGPT. Again, a lot of the functionalities, a lot of what you can do with ChatGPT has actually been integrated into HubSpot. So if you have a HubSpot account, you can just go ahead and try those functionalities directly from HubSpot. But yeah, go ahead and do it. I mean,
the other thing I would add to that, and this is a paradigm shift, to use a horrible phrase, right? This is a different way of working with systems. So instead of learning how HubSpot works, you can have a conversation with a system for the very first time. So that gets back to your idea of playing with it, right? Start asking questions. Imagine it not as a complex computer system, but imagine somebody's at the other end of that chat, and you just need some help, right? So start asking for help. How do I do this? Well, that sounds a bit complicated. Can you explain this to me? Can you explain it to me in simpler terms? Because I still don't understand it. And what I've learned from using these systems is that you get more out of it when you actually have a conversation rather than expect a single response answer. So don't go in there, type something like a Google search and expect that to be the end of it. That's the start of a conversation. And that's what people I think are missing out on a lot is you can go deep with these talks, with these chats, and you can really get some true knowledge back out of them again.
Yeah.
And in that sense, oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I was just going to agree with you guys on that, and also just to suggest that one great prefix to any conversation you're having is act as a whatever. So there's a lot of, you know, experts that will tell you 1,000 prompts to improve your life or whatever. So ignore all of those and just as the guys were saying, play with the AI that is there. But think about those 5 characters that I outlined, and just think about them as the person you're speaking to before you ask AI to do anything for you. So act as someone who's helping me to create a project plan, or act as someone who's helping me to communicate something to my customers about what I do. Frame it first for the AI and you'll get way better responses, but you also get a sense of what AI can do for you as you progress, because it's all about just getting familiar with the use of AI, which takes some time, but it's so worth it because eventually you start leaning on it very heavily.
There's another, all right, if we're giving away prompt hints, here's another one. After you get an answer back like that, ask it if it's a really good answer and if it could come up with a better one. It is really good to get it to reflect on its own answer. It's much better at reviewing something and criticizing it and coming up with something better than it is with coming up with the first answer in the first place. So that goes back to this conversation, right? And it's completely okay to ask it multiple times because it doesn't get annoyed, it doesn't get, you know, it doesn't run out of patience. And that's a really powerful thing. You can imagine having an expert next to you and you're constantly pestering them, right? They're going to get pissed off really fast. But this assistant is there for you, and that's where the power comes.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I often do is like it reminds me of The Office. Michael asking Oscar, explain it to me like I'm 5.
100%.
And it really works.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that is so useful. I mean, there's a famous teaching technique, right, where you can learn something by teaching it to somebody else. So that's kind of what you're in a teacher student situation here. And imagine a perfect teacher with perfect patience, who knows really in depth the subject. And like you say, Andrew, you set that up by telling him or telling it what type of expert it is. You know, today you're going to be an analyst. Today you're going to be, you know, the perfect copywriter. And I'm going to quiz you on this, and please review this in terms of, you know, Google's guidelines on content creation, and reference that. That's a good one to put in there, right? So it's tempting to give short questions. Write me an article on you know, AI and HubSpot. That's great, but you need to go more in depth. You need to make it valuable for the reader. Right?
Well, a great place to start, Clwyd, is to input your own business frameworks, everything that you've created, because you've done that with your own fallible human outlook on things. And so if you can load in some of your own messaging on the marketing side, or your own sales process, or the value proposition that you have, and just say, come back to me with some ideas on this, you will be really surprised at what can come back if the more frameworks you provide.
100%. And that's actually one of the limits of the current system. And we're going to see products and services that leverage that very, very shortly, because there's something called a context window, which is, you know, how big a question can you ask? And it's not that large at the moment. So there's only so much you can tell it about your business, about your buyer personas, about your products and services. There are limits to that.
Now, on that, so I've actually tried, I mean, because I have run out the limit for the prompt, but you can actually, like, if you stay within the same conversation, you can build upon your previous prompts, but only sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't remember your previous prompts.
Yeah.
But you can, if you input a lot of data, it really is a lot better like what it comes up with. Like you can tell it, okay, so I'm going to send you, I'm going to give you this information, and then I'm going to give you more information, and then just add into that, and then based on that, you ask it to come up with something. But the more specific you are in your prompt, like what exactly it is that you wanted to produce based on that information, the better off the answer is going to be.
And this is one area where a programmatic interface is different from a chat. So what I mean by that is if you build your own program front end and call the chatbot through programming, you get a much bigger context window. So on the chat, I think it's about 2K in terms of characters or words. I can't remember which. But on the programming side, if you write your own front end, your own program, you can take that up to 16 or 32K, depending on which model you're using. So that's a large amount of text. That's pages and pages of stuff. So that's why I think we're going to see over the next few months more programmatic interfaces, which are going to be better than the simple chat. And I think HubSpot itself in ChatSpot is gone down that route, so you can, it's a much more sophisticated system, and it's focused on inbound, it's focused on HubSpot, whereas ChatGPT doesn't know the intricacies of the HubSpot platform. It knows some of it, but not enough, really.
Yeah, I think it'll
Absolutely.
probably come down. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I want to respect your time and everyone who joined us today. Unfortunately, we are at time right now, and I just want to say thank you for all of these incredible insights. We're going to share a recording not only with everyone who joined us, but everyone who registered for this event. And if you're all up for it, we'd love to be able to share your contact info for people to follow up with you afterwards as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Alexander.
Clwyd, Andrew,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for all these insights. Thank you to everyone who joined us or is watching this video. And if you have any questions, we're going to give you the details to reach out to any of these amazing gentlemen.
Super. Love it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.